Thank you, Dave. Well, she reported on Hurricane Katrina for CNN 5 years ago. Now she has published a new book on her experiences covering the disaster in her own hometown. Welcome, Kathleen Koch. Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here, Evan.
That's right. And you're kind of coming home in a way.
I am. Well, my sister lives right around here, right around the corner of Mount Pleasant. But I grew up in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi.
Yeah,
so I'd love to be back in the South.
That's what this book's about. You know, this marks the 5th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Now, your book tells largely the story of the overlooked parts of Mississippi that was devastated by the storm. Now, what happened and why was Mississippi overlooked?
Well, first of all, the disaster in New Orleans that everyone is very familiar with, of the levees collapsing, it just affected more people. It was just a sheer numbers story. 1.3 million people in New Orleans and surrounding 8 parishes versus some 360,000 on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And then it was a continuing drama. You know, the levees broke, the city filled with water, they finally get it out, and then here comes Hurricane Rita, the levees break again, the city fills up again. So it was just this continuing drama, whereas in Mississippi on the Gulf Coast, where we don't have levees, and in fact our hometown is the highest point in the United States on the Gulf of Mexico, 30-foot bluff. The storm roared in, a 30-plus foot storm surge, sustained 125-mile-an-hour winds, destroyed everything, and then the people had to climb out of the rubble and pick up the pieces. Now,
how difficult was it for you as a journalist to cover this devastation in your own hometown when you were working for CNN?
It was heart-wrenching. Any journalist who is covering that hurricane, whether in New Orleans or the Mississippi Gulf Coast, I mean, it changed you. You couldn't see the devastation that we saw, the suffering, without being changed. But when the people who you're interviewing are your classmates from high school, and the rubble that you're walking through is the remains of the house where you grew up, the only place you ever called home. It's very, very difficult to get through it, to do your job. And you want to help everyone, and you feel so helpless because there's so much need, and everything you do, it just feels like you're accomplishing nothing.
Yeah, and back to the book, you say you get through the hurricane part pretty quickly. In about 40 pages, the first couple chapters. And there's so many wonderful characters in your book. Now, how did you decide who to put in the book and who to feature in there?
It's very tough because there were so many amazing stories and really uplifting stories. It's one of the reasons I wanted to write the book, because I think most Americans, when they think of Katrina, they wince. They think of the tragedy of New Orleans and the inept response. But in Mississippi, while people suffered, they got up out of the rubble, they rolled up their sleeves, and they started taking care of one another, taking care of their own. Mississippi is a hospitality state, and these people were just amazing. And so what I did is I told the stories of people I knew, my friends, people I was reporting on for CNN as we went up and down the Gulf Coast in the days after the storm, and then I did 2 documentaries. And so I really drew on a lot of that and just really chose the stories that I thought exemplified what happened there.
And put that together in the book. Now, you wrote this book with a brick on your desk. Explain this for us.
I did. Well, after the storm, when I got to where our home had been on South Beach Boulevard on Thursday, my parents had sold home a couple of years before the storm, and so standing there was such a powerful moment, and my heart was broken, and I realized what the belongings twisted in the rubble weren't ours, but I just couldn't bring myself to turn my back and just walk away and go, okay, this is where I grew up and it's over, and I'll just walk away and it's done. So I picked up 7 bricks, 1 for each member of my family, and I brought 1 home for everyone. And so mine sat on my desk while I wrote the book, and it helped me feel close to home.
This book sounds amazing, and you're actually having a signing in town. Let's talk about that and how folks can get this book.
Great. Signing will be at 7 p.m. at Walden Books at the corner of Market Street and, anyway, right downtown there.
You can't miss it, yeah.
And they can also get it online, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, my publishers, John F. Blair. You can order it there or go to my website, KathleenKoch.com.
All right, definitely check that out. And this book looks amazing. And thank you so much for sharing the story with us and with everyone.
And thank you to the people of Charleston and Mount Pleasant who did so much. That's another reason I'm here, is to say thank you. People like Coconut Joe's, places that really donated cooking supplies, Jazzercise women my sister works out with, they did amazing things. And so I want to say thanks to everyone.
All right, definitely pick up the book if you can. Thank you so much, Kathleen.
You bet.
All right, well, up next, the Center for Women teaches us how to use basic principles to improve productivity, reduce stress, and create harmony at work and at home. Stay with us.
If you're afraid that reporting a work injury might affect your job,